What happens when the man who built the hotel chain ends up mopping the lobby floor and sees his own staff mock a crying guest? Yaron Giles had built the hotel business from scratch. One refurbished roadside inn, one front desk shift at a time. Now, 20 years later, it had grown into 6 boutique hotels scattered across the state. Each one was supposed to reflect his core values: warmth, dignity, and service without ego. But lately, something felt off. A couple of bad reviews online, some vague complaints in email reports, nothing concrete. But Yaron had learned to trust his gut. He called in his district manager, a sharp guy named Marcus, to ask about the location downtown Hotel Briar. It was their newest, and the one with the most turnover lately. Marcus leaned back in the chair. They're fine, manager's strict, but she keeps people in line. Customers are demanding, that's all. Yaron didn't buy it. You ever work a shift there? Marcus gave a tight laugh. Not my job, sir. Maybe it should be, Yaron muttered. He made the decision that night. He'd go in undercover for a weekend shift. Not for show, but to see what was really going on. He shaved his beard, dyed his hair darker, added a fake mole near his temple. Nobody at Briar had met him in person. They'd only seen his name on invoices, maybe a headshot from a 10-year-old company memo. The staff were used to seeing new hires filter in and out. He forged a resume under the name Ray Givens, applied for a janitorial temp role through a local agency, and got placed within 2 days. Saturday morning, Yaron stood outside the sliding glass doors of Hotel Briar, wearing a gray maintenance polo and holding a mop bucket. The place looked sleek, modern, but distant. Cold. It didn't feel like the kind of place he'd built. Inside, the front desk was manned by a young man named Troy, who didn't look up once as Yaron entered. A woman with sharp eyebrows and a clipboard approached him. "You the temp?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am. Ray." "I'm Dana. I'm the manager here. You'll be cleaning lobby floors, restrooms, and helping if anything breaks. Don't talk to guests unless they talk to you first. We run tight here." She didn't wait for a reply, just turned and walked off. He nodded once, grabbed his mop, and started working. The hours passed. No one greeted him. The front desk staff chatted with each other, rolling their eyes anytime someone came up to check in. A housekeeper asked Yaron if he could help carry laundry carts, which he did without a word. By the afternoon, he was wiping down the glass doors when he heard a sound behind him. A woman was standing at the front desk, clutching a small suitcase. She looked exhausted. Her eyes were red. "I'm just asking if there's any way to check in early," she said, her voice cracking. "My flight got canceled twice and I haven't slept, please. I'll pay extra." Troy didn't look up from his computer. "Check-in's at 3. It's 12:45. She blinked back tears. "I have a funeral this evening. I just need to shower and change." "Please." Dana had walked up behind Troy now. She looked at the woman, then at her watch. "Not our problem. You can sit in the lounge if you want, or walk around the block." The woman looked like she was trying to hold herself together. I really need a moment. Please." Yaron paused mid-mop. Then Troy muttered under his breath, "Here we go. Waterworks." Dana smirked. "Should have booked a better airline. Not our fault she's falling apart." Yaron felt his gut twist. He dropped the mop. The woman turned away, wiped her face with her sleeve, and walked toward one of the lobby chairs. Yaron followed her, grabbing a clean towel from the janitor's closet on the way. "Ma'am," he said gently, I'm just maintenance, but if you want to wash up, there's a private staff restroom down the hall. I can show you. It's clean." She looked at him, surprised. "You'd do that?" He nodded. "Of course." He led her to the back, handed her the towel, and waited quietly by the door until she came out. She looked a little calmer. "Thank you," she whispered. "You're the only person who's been kind to me today." Before he could say more, Dana appeared at the hallway entrance. "What the hell is going on?" she barked. "Why is a guest in our staff area?" Yaron stood straight. She needed a moment. It was the decent thing to do. "She's not allowed back here," Dana snapped. "You don't make that call. You're a janitor. One more stunt like that and you're gone." Yaron clenched his jaw. "Yes, ma'am," he said, and walked past her. That night, he sat alone in his motel room, staring at the ceiling. His chest was tight. He knew what he saw wasn't an isolated event. Tomorrow, he'd go back, but not as Ray. Tomorrow, they'd meet Yaron Giles, the man who signed their paychecks. Yaron arrived at Hotel Briar just before opening shift, this time in a pressed navy blazer and slacks. The false name tag was gone, his real one. Yaron Giles, founder and CEO, was clipped plainly to his jacket. He didn't knock, he didn't wait. He walked straight through the glass doors, past the front desk, and into the staff room where morning briefings were usually held. A few employees were already seated, sipping coffee, chatting softly. One of them, a young housekeeper with tired eyes, did a double take when she saw him. "Ray?" she said, confused. He gave her a small nod. "Not exactly." Dana walked in holding her clipboard, eyes fixed on her notes. She didn't even notice him at first. "Okay, we've got 2 checkouts delayed from last night. Housekeeping, be ready to flip. I need everyone's attention," Yaron said, his voice cutting through the room like a dropped plate. Dana looked up. For a second, she didn't recognize him. Then her face dropped. Yaron didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. "My name is Yaron Giles. I own this hotel. I spent yesterday mopping your floors and watching how this place is run. I saw enough in 12 hours to know we have serious problems." Everyone went quiet. Dana's knuckles whitened around her clipboard. "I'm going to ask every employee here to speak with me one-on-one today, privately. You'll be paid for your time. I want the truth. No filters, no rehearsed lines." Dana opened her mouth, but Yaron cut her off with a look. "You will not speak unless I ask you to. You'll get your turn." He turned to the young housekeeper who had recognized him. "What's your name?" "Ashley. Would you start us off?" She blinked, then nodded. They walked together into an empty conference room. Once the door closed, Ashley sat uncertainly at the edge of a chair. "You're not in trouble," Yaron said. "I just want to know what working here is actually like." Her voice was cautious at first. "I've worked in hotels since I was 19. This one's cold. People quit fast. There's no training. Just Dana walking you through everything in 10 minutes and then expecting you to know how to do 3 floors. He listened carefully, taking notes with a pen and pad. "She times our cleaning. If we go over 15 minutes per room, she docks shifts, says we're wasting time. But guests leave rooms trashed. Sometimes I skip lunch just to keep pace." "Have you told anyone this?" "I tried once. Marcus, the area guy. He said everyone's under pressure and I should toughen up." Yaron's jaw tightened. "Thank you, Ashley. You've told me what I needed to hear." She left, and he brought in the next person, a bellhop named Idris. He was lean, mid-30s, and chose his words carefully. "Look, I don't like to complain," he began. "But the way guests get treated here, it's not what I signed up for. They're paying a premium. They walk in expecting class, and they get sarcasm and indifference." Yaron leaned forward. "Why hasn't this been corrected by management?" Idris looked toward the window for a moment. "Because Dana doesn't care. She's not interested in hospitality. She's interested in control. And Troy? He follows her lead. He'll mock a guest the second they turn around. Especially the ones who look like they don't belong." Yaron frowned. "What do you mean by that?" Idris hesitated, then spoke quietly. "We had 2 black guests last week. Young couple, well-dressed. Dana told front desk to double-check their booking, said, 'They're probably confused about which hotel they're supposed to be at.' That kind of thing happens a lot. She doesn't say it when guests are around, but everyone hears it." Yaron didn't write that part down. He didn't need to. It was burned in. He went through 6 more employees. All had stories. Some were less dramatic, like the night shift clerk who got scolded for giving a guest an extra blanket without logging it. But patterns emerge fast. Strict quotas, no empathy, and a culture of fear. Anyone who spoke up got fewer hours the next week, or was reassigned to harder shifts. By noon, Yaron was done. He gathered the staff in the lounge, not just the day crew he'd called in the evening team too, offering overtime pay. Every employee was there, except Dana and Troy. He stood at the center of the room. "This is going to change today," he said. "I want to be clear. Hotel Briar is not closing. No one is losing their job today unless they've earned it, but I will not allow this culture to continue." The room was silent. "Dana has been removed from her position, effective immediately. Her behavior, her comments, and her disregard for both staff and guests violate everything this company stands for. There were a few quiet exhales. One housekeeper swiped at her eyes. Troy has also been terminated. I reviewed footage, and more importantly, I heard enough first-hand testimony to confirm what I saw. Disrespecting guests, especially vulnerable ones, has no place here. He paused. There's more. Marcus, the district manager who dismissed your concerns, is suspended pending a full review of his conduct across all our properties. If I find that his negligence affected other teams, he'll be gone too. A few people glanced at each other, some nodding. Yaron continued. Starting this week, we're bringing in a new interim manager, Sonia Rivas. She's been with me since our second hotel. She knows how to lead without intimidation. She'll be here within 48 hours. He took a breath. I'm not asking you to forget what's happened, but I am asking you to stay. I need people like you to help rebuild what this place was supposed to be. That means better training, more support, and open lines to me directly. He held up a small stack of cards. This is my personal email, not a corporate inbox. If something's wrong, you tell me. No chain of command, no filters. He handed the cards out personally. When he finished, he didn't linger for applause. He spent the rest of the day reviewing schedules, talking with the front desk team about what changes they needed, and walking the property with the maintenance guy to understand the backlog of repair requests. By evening, he was back in the same staff restroom where he'd sent the grieving woman earlier. He looked at the mirror. No disguise, no mop. Just the man who built it all, realizing how far it had drifted from his hands. He didn't feel proud. He felt responsible. By Monday morning, the hotel felt like it was holding its breath. Word had spread internally that the owner had spent a full day undercover. Staff who had once spoken in hushed tones were now openly exchanging glances, uncertain of what came next. But Yaron didn't step away. He arrived early, dressed plainly, and remained visible, not hovering, but present. The interim manager, Sonia Rivas, showed up just after 7. She was in her early 40s, wore a simple black blazer with rolled-up sleeves, and carried no clipboard. She walked with calm purpose, greeting each employee by name as Yaron introduced her. They spent the morning observing the front desk rotation. Kelsey, one of the newer hires, handled check-ins, while Sonia stood quietly behind her. When the computer froze for the second time in 10 minutes, Kelsey's hand hovered over the keyboard, flustered. Sonia leaned closer. You're doing fine. Log out and reset the terminal. I'll cover the guest. Kelsey stepped aside, relieved. Sonia addressed the guest with practiced ease and handled the delay with a short apology and a complimentary breakfast voucher, nothing extravagant. Just enough to make it right. Yaron watched from a distance. He didn't interfere. This was Sonia's domain now. By mid-afternoon, the hotel's rhythm was starting to settle, but not everything had been addressed. Behind the scenes, he'd tasked HR with discreetly reviewing guest feedback from the last 3 months. They compiled a report that confirmed what he feared. Multiple complaints had been logged and ignored. Comments about cold receptions, unreturned calls, and even 2 flagged incidents involving Troy's behavior toward guests had been buried under generic resolved stamps. Marcus had closed them without investigation. Yaron called him in. Marcus arrived late 10 minutes past the agreed time, wearing a forced smile and a blazer that looked like it hadn't been ironed. He shook Yaron's hand stiffly, but didn't sit until asked. I'll get to the point, Yaron said. I've read the guest reports you marked resolved. Marcus gave a shallow shrug. A few negative comments are expected. Can't please everyone. You didn't follow up on a single one. They didn't seem urgent. No one got hurt. Yaron didn't blink. One of them involved a staff member telling a guest to try somewhere they'd be more comfortable. That guest was Middle Eastern. You didn't think that warranted a conversation? Marcus shifted in his chair. It's a gray area. We don't always know the full story from the notes. You had a responsibility to find out the full story. I was stretched thin. We're short on managers. I can't be everywhere at once. You weren't anywhere, Yaron said flatly. You didn't set foot in this hotel once in the last 90 days. Your travel card shows no mileage. Your calendar shows no site visits. Marcus's jaw tensed. I focused on the numbers. That's what matters at the end of the day. No, Yaron said. What matters is how we make people feel, guests and staff. That's what keeps this company alive, and you've forgotten that. Marcus leaned back, defensive now. So what? I'm out because I didn't babysit a few moody employees? You're out, Yaron said, because you let a toxic culture grow under your supervision and you didn't lift a hand to stop it. Marcus stood slowly. Fine, but you'll regret this in 6 months when you realize kindness doesn't fix margins. Yaron remained seated. Margins don't survive without integrity. You're dismissed, effective immediately. Security will escort you to collect your things. When Marcus was gone, Yaron exhaled once, then returned to the floor. In the back office, Sonia was reviewing training schedules with Ashley and Idris. They had agreed to help restructure onboarding for new hires. Ashley had suggested splitting housekeeping shifts into 2 smaller blocks so no one had to clean 15 rooms in one stretch. Idris proposed a rotating break schedule that allowed bellhops to recover during low traffic hours instead of staying on their feet for full shifts. It'll mean more coordination, Idris said, but if we stagger the assignments, no one gets overloaded. Sonia nodded. That's a good start. Let's pilot it this week and adjust based on what we learn. Yaron stepped in. We'll also be hiring 2 more full-time housekeepers and 1 additional front desk associate. The hiring freeze is lifted. I've already approved the budget. Ashley looked up, surprised. Really? Yes, we can't expect quality without capacity. Let's stop pretending we can. As the meeting ended, Sonia asked to speak with Yaron privately. I've been going over the staff files, she said. There's something else. 2 employees were quietly let go in the last month. No HR documentation, no exit interviews. Yaron's brow furrowed. Who? Both were part-time, 1 in laundry, 1 night security. Both had filed complaints before they disappeared from the schedule. He paused. Dana? Most likely, but Marcus signed off. Their records show 0 misconduct. Just gone. Yaron nodded. I'll contact them personally. If they want to return, we'll offer their spots back at higher pay. Later that evening, Yaron walked the 2nd floor hallway, which had been quiet all day. He passed room 213 and noticed the door was ajar. He knocked lightly, then pushed it open. Inside, a maintenance cart stood unattended. One of the new temps, a wiry man in his 20s, was sitting on the bed, scrolling through his phone. A used towel was still on the floor, trash hadn't been cleared, and the vacuum cord was coiled, untouched. Yaron stepped in. You're assigned to this room? The man looked up, startled. Yeah, taking a break. This room's not cleaned. I was gonna get to it. Yaron nodded slowly. This is your 2nd room of the shift. You clocked in 3 hours ago. The man stood up, defensive. I didn't know you were watching. I'm not watching, Yaron said. I'm expecting. You're being paid to do a job. If you're not willing, there are others who are. So what, I'm fired? Yes. The man scoffed and grabbed his things. Didn't want to clean this dump anyway. He left without another word. Yaron stayed behind, picked up the towel, tossed it into the bin, and pulled the door shut behind him. By the time the sun dipped behind the skyline, the hotel was quieter. Not calm rebuilding, never is, but steadier. Sonia had started shadowing the overnight crew. Ashley had volunteered to train 2 new hires starting the next morning. Idris had drafted a rotation chart by hand and taped it to the employee bulletin board. Yaron stood in the lobby, near the same spot he'd mopped just 2 days earlier. This time, he wasn't holding a bucket. He was watching Kelsey greet a guest with a smile that didn't look forced. There was no speech, no announcement. Just a man standing quietly in the corner, making sure the place he built started acting like it again. By Thursday, the elevator panel in the back hallway still hadn't been fixed. Sonia had already logged the issue, but the parts hadn't arrived. Yaron stood beside her reviewing alternate room assignments for mobility-limited guests when a knock came at the service door. One of the new hires, a college student named Emilio, leaned in holding a printed schedule. Ms. Rivas, he said, shifting his weight nervously. I think there's a problem with the weekend shift layout. I'm listed for 2 overnight laundry shifts and a day housekeeping block. That's 22 hours and 2 days. Sonia took the schedule, scanned it, then looked to Yaron. I'll take this, he said gently. Emilio, come with me. They stepped into the break room, which had been cleaned and reorganized that morning. No more broken chairs stacked in the corner, no more lukewarm coffee from a neglected pot. Just a quiet space with a working fridge and a calendar tracking time off requests. Yaron motioned for Emilio to sit. "Did you already work a shift today?" he asked. "Yeah. 6 to 2, laundry." "And you're expected to come back at 11 tonight?" Emilio nodded. "I didn't know until I checked the board. I didn't want to say anything, but I can't stay sharp like that. And I've got class Monday." "You're right to speak up," Yaron said. "That schedule's being reworked. You won't be on overnight this weekend. We'll find coverage." As Emilio left, visibly relieved, Yaron stepped out to the staff hallway and called Sonia over. "Who's assigning weekend blocks?" he asked. "I was told the assistant manager was still handling the schedule. There's only one listed, Kyle. Where is he now? Office 2? He's been behind the desk most of today." Yaron didn't hesitate. He found Kyle seated behind a low partition, surrounded by binders and 2 monitors. The man barely looked up as Yaron entered. "Kyle. Oh, hey, didn't know you were coming back this way. You're assigning overlapping shifts to staff without checking their total hours?" Kyle leaned back, tapping a pen on the desk. "We're short. I had to fill the gaps, or rooms don't get flipped. So you gave one employee 22 hours in 2 days." Kyle shrugged. "They're new. They can handle it." Yaron's voice stayed even. "That's not your decision to make. And it's not your job to push people until they break." "I've been doing whatever it takes to keep this place moving," Kyle said, his tone sharpening. "You think I want to be scheduling shifts? I've been covering for 2 empty supervisor roles." "Then you raise that to Sonia. You don't bury the problem by overloading staff." Kyle stood now, frustration rising. "Look, I've worked here 3 years, never took a sick day, never left early, and now you're telling me I'm the problem? I'm saying your choices are unsustainable. You're not being fired, Kyle, but you're off scheduling, effective immediately." Kyle's face stiffened, but he didn't argue. "Fine." Yaron turned to go, then paused. "You want to stay here long term? Learn to lead without burning your team. That's your next test." Kyle didn't respond. That afternoon, Yaron met with Sonia and a woman from HR named Lena in the manager's office. The door was closed, files spread across the table. Lena tapped a folder. "We've reached out to the 2 employees who were let go without cause last month. One's taken another job. The other's interested in returning. Offer her her old rate plus 15%, Yaron said, and backdate her seniority. She shouldn't lose her place for someone else's mistake." Lena nodded. Sonia slid another paper forward. "We've also had an issue flagged by the night security contractor. He said that during Dana's time here, a guest complaint about harassment in the parking garage was never documented. No report, no follow-up. Just verbal dismissal." Yaron's eyes narrowed. "When did it happen?" "Early April. Guest was female, traveling alone. She reported to front desk that a man followed her from the garage into the lobby. Troy told her it was probably just someone heading to their room." Yaron sat back for a moment, staring at the ceiling. "Pull the footage from that night and contact the guest. Apologize, offer a full refund for her stay and a voucher if she's willing to return. But make it clear this shouldn't have happened." Lena noted it down. "I also want a policy change," Yaron said. "Any guest safety concern, no matter how small, must be logged and reviewed by 2 staff members. One of them has to be a manager, no exceptions." Sonia nodded. "I'll draft a memo and roll it out across the other locations, too." By the time the sun dipped behind the western skyline, the hotel had turned quieter again. Not the brittle silence of tension, but something steadier. Staff had started using their break room without hesitation. The sign-in board had new names for overnight support, pulled from a temp agency Yaron personally vetted. No one was expected to stretch a shift past their limit. In the lobby, Idris stood behind the front desk, giving directions to a couple looking for local restaurants. His tone was warm, his posture relaxed. When they left, he looked over and caught Yaron watching. "You sticking around for the night run?" he asked. "Not tonight," Yaron said. "You've got it under control." "Didn't used to feel like that." Idris wasn't smiling. He just said it plainly. Yaron nodded once. "That's because we were pretending. Now we're not." Just before he left, Yaron stopped into the maintenance closet. The mop he'd used 4 days ago still sat in the same corner, handle leaning against the wall. He adjusted it slightly, then shut the door. He didn't say goodbye to everyone. He didn't need to. The people who were still there knew what had changed, and more importantly, they knew it wasn't temporary. The hotel wouldn't be perfect overnight, but it would be honest, accountable, human, and that was enough to rebuild from.